Arthapatti, Anyatha Anupapatti is also used. Even though Arthapatti comes under Upapatti. But anyway, one is Upakrama, Upasamhara, make one Shadlinga. You know, if you become serious about Shadlingas, they just guide you to the right thing. They are the unfailing clues. Even the clues to which help you determine what the truth is, that's Shadlingam. It's Anubhava. It's pointing out this. Because after Shravanam, you have to do Mananam. Mananam means what? What is the topic? What does the Shruti want to convey? Does it want to convey Dvaitam? Does it want to convey Visishtadvaitam? Or does it want to convey some realm? Does it want to convey something? What does it want to convey? Does it want to convey some process inside the creation? What does it want to convey? To find out Tatparya Nishchaya. Tatparya Nishchaya. What it wants to convey is called Mananam. What does it mean? Is called Mananam, for which you require Shadlingas. Without Shadlingas, how do you determine what it means? Shruti says, God created the world, God sustains the world, God takes back unto the world. What is the Tatparyam? Does it mean to say that the creation is a reality? Is creation an action? Is creation a volition? A lot of doubts. It's not easy. That is why many people think spirituality just some kind of sitting straight and swinging. Aisa kuch nahi hai. Like physics is education. Medical science is education. It is not sitting and swinging. Every faculty is education. Similarly, Vedanta is education about the truth. And you can't determine that truth just by sitting and swinging. For that you require Shadlingas. How does it begin? How does it end? What is the Upapatti logic? And the next is Arthapatti. That is also a kind of form of a logic. Then Abhyasaha. Where lies its emphasis? Like Mahavakya is repeated again and again and again, etc., etc. Apurvam. Aram se. Apurvam is a very useful Shadlinga. Because anything that is available for Pratyakshadi Pramanam cannot be the topic of Shabda Pramanam. We'll make it pakka. We'll make it pakka. Any kind of division is Pratyakshadi Pramana Vishaya. Avidyakam. Mayikam. Therefore, Shastra cannot be teaching division. Shastra should not be, its Tatparyam should not be just to teach division as the truth. Shruti doesn't say that division is the truth, limitation is the truth, sorrow is the truth, form is the truth. No. Because if form is the truth, looking at it, I should be free. If form is the truth, the vision of it should liberate a man. If sound is the truth, the vision of it should liberate man. If this universe is the truth, looking at it, I should be free. Why? Because looking at the truth, I should be free. These are all just very common sense takes care of all these things really. That's why common sense plays a big role. Common sense is nothing but all anubhava. Common sense is no ordinary thing. we have to restore it to its rightful place. Common sense should be restored to its rightful place of being synonymous with the truth. Common sense is no ordinary thing. Common sense is different from impulse. Impulse is different from common sense, understand? Impulse is different from common sense. What is common sense? Hey, you need to control your impulses to be peaceful. That is common sense. There is a big difference between impulse and common sense. And therefore, in order to find out what the Tatparyam of the Shastra, that is called Tatparya Nishchaya, is done by means of, with the help of the 6 clues called Shallingas. What are the first? Which is the first Shallinga? Upakrama, Upasamhara, counted as 1. Upapatti, number 2. Then there is another one, Arthapatti, number 3. Abhyasa, number 4. Apurvam, number 5. Apurvam means what? The topic of Vedanta should be something that should not be the topic of my senses and senses-based logic. The sense organs-based logic, I am going to tell a little bit. You can just have patience and hear. One is Anumana, the other is Arthapatti. Anumana, there is a difference between inference and presumption. Anumana means inference. Arthapatti means presumption. Presumption, just an English translation, I'll explain, see it for yourself. Inference is something more valid. Presumption is more subjective. Inference is objective. I see the smoke, I infer the fire. There should be fire. There is no other alternate. It has to be fire, nothing else. It has to be fire, nothing else. If my judgment of the smoke as smoke is right, then there has to be fire. This is what is called inference, Anumana. It's called Anumana. Then Arthapatti means, presumption means, I see somebody fasting the whole day. Morning breakfast, he doesn't take. Lunch, he doesn't take. Dinner also, he doesn't take. He is not with us when we are the same person. We are all living in the same house, members of the same household. A particular person that belongs to my household, he doesn't join me for breakfast, doesn't join anybody for lunch, doesn't join anybody for dinner, and yet he goes on putting on weight. You see? Therefore, what do? We presume. This is called presume. It could be a disease also, but then presume he must be eating in the night. If he is not eating by day, then he must be eating by night. This is what is called Arthapatti. Arthapatti. Maybe he is eating by night, maybe he is not eating by night, maybe has got a problem of putting on weight without eating, or we don't know, some disease, could be disease, we don't know. But all that we have to learn is, Arthapatti has an element of subjectivity, whereas Anumana is more objective. This is the difference. The meaning of Arthapatti is Anyatha Anupapatti, lest it should be impossible. Let it should be untenable. Meaning, without eating by night, it's untenable. It is untenable that a man puts on weight without eating at all. If he is not eating by day, he is eating perhaps by night. That perhaps he is eating by night. Perhaps he is eating that perhaps, that is called presumption. Perhaps, that is called presumption. perhaps. Arthapatti also is one pramana. Like Anumana is a pramana, Arthapatti is also a pramana. Arthapatti also we make use of in determining Tatparyanishta. Truth is not the Vishaya of Arthapatti. The pramana, what conveys the truth is Shabda Pramanam. In understanding Shabda Pramanam, we use Arthapatti. In understanding the Tatparya Nishchaya, we use Upapatti logic. We use Upakrama. These are all clues to determine the Tatparyam of Shabda Pramanam. Not that, just because Arthapatti and Upapatti, these are all just really, they all, some of the Shadlingas, doesn't mean truth becomes the subject matter of Arthapatti or Upapatti. No. Shadlingas are not the direct pramanam for the truth. Say understanding. Shastram should be, this is how. Just, I'm going to just, make you see how the Shadlingas make sense. Shastram is that, the rules of a scripture is that, that it should end with what it began. No straying from the topic is allowed. Like Chakshu Pramana doesn't stray from its topic of showing the form. Can your eyes stray? They stray from form to form, but they don't stray from form to the sound. Because we always say, Swamiji, I am a very distracted person. All right, get distracted from, let your eyes be distracted from the form to the sound. Tab aapko main, then I can really admire. Here is a man who has achieved the impossible. He is so special in this creation. Let the eyes be distracted from the form to the sound. Let the ears be distracted from the sound to the form. Let the ears be distracted from the sound to the form. That means a pramana has no distraction. A pramana has no distraction. The eyes have no distraction. Therefore, the eyes begin with seeing the form and end in seeing the form. What does that mean? It's a very interesting thing. It begins with seeing the form and ends in seeing with the form. Means what? It has no other job. It only sees the form. It only sees the form, first and last. Last. It only sees the ears, only hear the sound, first and last. Similarly, if Vedanta is a pramanam, if it is a valid means by which it wants to, if it is a valid means to convey the truth, then it should have no distraction from the topic. And the topic is what? Atma as Brahman. Therefore, from the first line to the last line, the entire text must have no distraction from the topic. And the topic is how the self is Brahman. And therefore, it cannot be, Vedanta cannot have multiple topics. Vedanta, Amara Vedanta, it has multiple topics. Multiple topics means what? Which are multiple? Then it is not a Brahman. Then it is Anuvada. Then it is not a Pramana Bhutam. Because once it is a Pramanam, it should not have distraction from its subject matter. Eyes have no distraction. Ears have no distraction. The taste, the sense of taste, touch, smell have no distraction. Even the inference has no distraction. The faculty of inference is meant only for inferring, etc., etc., etc. Clear? Similarly, Vedanta becomes a pramanam only if it begins with the topic, goes through with the topic, and ends with the topic. then it becomes Pramana. Supposing a book begins with Brahma Vidya, there are a lot of, books you will come across. Even somebody writes a book in English, you must have Shallingas. Simply writing a book with a nice, beautiful bound, it doesn't mean anything. It gives you an idea. Okay, after lunch, in order to get some sleep, or just, go through. Like newspaper you read. Like that, there are so many books. So say useful literature, that is only Vedanta. If there is something useful, this is the useful. Shastram is useful. Bhagi Sahib just say something. So begin with great, bangs, with a bang. In Kali Yuga, we are all going away from the truth and therefore we should get back to the truth, vagera, vagera, and then ultimately end up in some politics, some mysticism, vagera, vagera, vagera. Why? Because the author himself is so confused. He needs to first of all have munda, have choti, have cloths, ब्रह्मचारी का क्लोज मान के एक कहीं आचार्य के सामने कहीं गुरुकुल में जाके बैठ के पढ़ना चाहिए. संस्कृत रामहा रामम रामहा पहले अभ्यास करना चाहिए, तब कुछ हो सकता है. Without doing all that, you start writing books. Great. What books can you write? एक षडलिंग पे नहीं, 6 में एक नहीं, बाकी सब है, 7वां है, 8वां है, लेकिन पहला 6 नहीं है. Not able to follow. वो पहला 6 नहीं है, बाकी सब है. Okay. And therefore, the first Shadlinga, please. Doesn't it make sense that the validity of a pramanam is proved by its non-distraction from the topic? That itself doesn't clinch. It's pramana. Because even madness, a particular book can be writing mad, something mad without distraction. That doesn't make it valid. And therefore, the second Shadlinga is Upapatti. It should be logical, meaning it should conform to human experiences. Upapatti means what it talks must conform to human experience, universal experiences. Upapatti and Arthapatti, both, quote unquote, Upapatti and Arthapatti, both. Say what it talks must make sense to me, must conform to my anubhava. It must conform to the obtaining universal experiences. That itself doesn't clinch. Abhyasa. Because it says a lot of things, but sometimes what it says is not what it means. It says something to mean something, that what it means is emphasized. One is Uktam and the other is what is Tatparyam? Vivakshitam. One is Uktam, the other is Vivakshitam. Uktam means what is said, and the other is what is meant. Because there are certain things which can't be meant without saying. I will tell you. The wave is born of water, sustained by water, goes back into water, is what is said. And therefore it is water, is what is meant. Are you able to follow? The wave is born of water, sustained by water, goes back into water, is what is said by the Shruti. What does it mean? Therefore it is water. Therefore now, without saying what it says, can it mean what it means? No. To begin with, straight away it can't say wave is water. Then I will ask a question, why? Why wave is water? Bataiye. Then again you have to come back to the prakriya. What is it? Because it is born of water, sustained by water, because it goes back into water, therefore water. Therefore, what is Uktam? It is born of water, stays in water, goes back into water, is uktam. And what is tatparyam vivakshitam? Therefore it is water. Similarly, God creates the world. The world is born of God, sustained by God, goes back unto God, is what is said. And what is meant? Therefore it is God. Therefore it is God. That is tatparyam. And that tatparyam is emphasized. Tatparyam is emphasized. That's called abhyasa. Emphasis is not on the prakriya. Emphasis is on what is meant. What is said. What is meant is emphasized. That is what is called abhyasa. Tatparyam is conveyed again and again. Navavaram, 9 times the Mahavakya is repeated, 9 times. हम लोग कहते हैं भगवान कृष्ण जी ने taught 18 chapters to Arjuna to enlighten him. If one understands after 18 chapters, बहुत बड़ी बात है. 18 times is nothing, provided 18 times guarantees knowledge. It is nothing. I understand, If 18, supposing I listen to Bhagavad Gita 18 times and understand what it means, it बहुत जल्दी हो गया जी. बहुत जल्दी हो गया. That is why one tapasvi, yesterday only I was just giving a satsang. In that is एक tapasvi. Better here. There was a tapasvi. He was sitting under the tree. 2 tapasvis were there. And they were sitting under 2 trees. And they were doing tapasya. And Naradji comes to tapasvi number 1. Tapasvi number 1 opens his eyes and says, Naradji, आइए, so nice to see you, so nice to talk to you, so nice to receive you. हमारा भगवान जी कैसे हैं वैकुंठ में? हमारा विष्णु भगवान जी कैसे हैं? हम तो have been doing tapasya for the last 1000 years. And when did he give any idea as to when he is coming? After all, you are an insider. आप तो वैकुंठ भगवान के पास रहने वाले. You are an inner circle, you belong to the inner circle, therefore you must be knowing what Bhagwan must be thinking. Then Naradji said, yes, I overheard Bhagwan Vishnu talking to Lakshmi, saying that हमारा एक भक्त है, उनके पास जाना है, वगैरह वगैरह. Maybe it is you. He says, when is he coming? I just overheard that he is about to come. Then tapasvi number 1 said, तब तो भगवान तो आ ही रहे हैं, कोई बात नहीं. Now, I don't have to be so strict about the food and all that. Paneer palak, makhi ka roti. Therefore he relaxed. Tapasya chali gaya. Why? The moment he thought that Bhagwan is going to come, anyway he is going to come, he is already decided in his mind to come, that means he is going to come. This is not important. Tapasvi number 2 is important. Naradji comes to Tapasvi number 2, and Tapasvi number 2 also receives Naradji and then asks him, Bhagwan ji, hamara Bhagwan ji kaise hai, vagera vagera. And he says, yes, I heard something that he is going to come, he is not going to come very soon. I heard that he is not going to come very soon. You may have to wait for another 1000 years. This tapasvi started dancing. He went into raptures and started dancing. 1000 years is nothing if I can get Bhagavan's darshan after 1000 years. If Bhagavan's darshan is guaranteed after 1000 years, what is 1000 years? Nothing. In eternity, what is 1000 years? What is 1000 years? He went into raptures and started dancing. And there became manifest Bhagavan. Suddenly Bhagavan became manifest. Why? When devotion peaks, that is called darshanam. Did you hear that? When devotion peaks, that is that, what else? That is not Advaitam. Devotion peaking means what? Thinking resolves in being. Thinking resolves in being. That is called peaking. Thought resolve. I can say thought peaks when it gives up itself, leaving behind only the being. Like the effort to go to sleep peaks. And what is there? There is no effort. In fact, effort peaks. When the effort peaks, it is effortlessness. Trying to convey something. Devotion peaks, it is what? It is knowledge, it is darshanam. The effort to sleep peaks, what is there? Sleep. The effort to sleep peaks in sleep. Then there is no more effort. Therefore, when the effort to sleep peaks, there is no more effort. If the effort is still there, then it has not yet peaked. It has not peaked, it doesn't culminate. In that manner, if a person can study Bhagavad Gita even 18 times, 18 अध्याय 18 बार पढ़ने के बाद भी अगर ज्ञान आ गया, बहुत जल्दी हो गया है ना? हाँ जी, हमारे दृष्टि से बहुत जल्दी आएंगे. If somebody lives on for say 60 years, he makes an effort to control anger. And after 60 years of effort to control anger, and if he successfully controls his anger, बहुत जल्दी हो गया. 60 years is not a long time to have control over anger. Why? Because it's not easy. And also remember what Bhagavan said. Hey, if you can get 5 houses, five villages, if not 5 villages, at least 5 houses in a village, and then if you can get peace, if you can get 5 villages with peace, आपको शांति बहुत सस्ता में मिल गया. भगवान कृष्ण जी कहते हैं युधिष्ठिर से. And therefore, 9 times, oh, I have read Bhagavad Gita more than once, twice. Nothing great about it. Nothing great about it. Why? Because what is important, not 2 times or 3 times, that is not important. Reflecting until one understands is what. Supposing one makes 1 hour effort and doesn't fall asleep, that's of no use. Therefore, make effort until you fall asleep. See? Because effort is successful only when it becomes successful. Effort is successful only when it becomes successful. Similarly, I have to reflect until and continue. Maintaining the effort to understand is what is called. Anyway, so what is that is called abhyasa. So which is the first Shadlinga? The Shadlinga Upakram Upasam. That the Pramana, if Vedanta is a Pramana, then it should not have distraction from the subject matter. Number 2, Upapatti and Arthapatti. What it talks must conform to the universal Anubhava. Number 3, Abhyasa. It should always put emphasis on what it means. It must make it clear what it says and what it means. A student generally looks upon what it says as what it means. Who is going to help him? If I simply take what you say as what you mean, literally, then that's not the right thing. Father tells the son, Nalaik, get lost. That is what he says. But what does it mean? And supposing literally we takes it that way and then gets lost forever, oh my God, then the father will come and Murak, that is not what I meant. What I meant is you better do something useful. Bas itna hi. And therefore, the prakriya is what it says and vivakshitam is what it means. In order to do the tatparya nishchaya, we require Shadlingas. than the Apurvam. Apurvam helps a lot. Apurvam plays a huge role in determining, in finding out the Tatparyama, the Shruti. Why? Because Srishti is Apurvam, not Apurvam. Name and form as a reality. It's not Apurvam. Why? Because name and form is known to me. And then the last is, what clinches is, if Vedanta is a pramanam, when I understand it, it should liberate me from samsara. Moksha should be the result. Moksha should be the result. Supposing I study Vedanta, it only gives me some relative peace of mind, then it is not pramana, because relative peace one can get even without Vedanta. Relative peace one can get even without Vedanta. What is there? You just have little control control your anger a bit. You are peaceful relatively. Control your greed, relatively peaceful. Control your mind. Have a little control over your mind. You are peaceful. Have control over your mind. And in fact, you take food that you like. You are relatively peaceful. Yes. Punjabis, they have got the knowledge of the secret. How to keep all the time, the whole day cheerful. Just cook what you like. Eat what you like. Food plays a big role. All Indians, not only Punjabis, all Indians, they fond of food. But what I am telling is relative peace, for relative mental peace, you don't have to go to Vedanta. बहुत बड़ी बात है. Little control over one's mind keeps one peaceful. And simplicity keeps one peaceful, and therefore Vedanta becomes a pramanam, becomes a valid means of knowledge of the truth only. I can say Vedanta is talking about the truth only when I understand the topic of it. I should not have mere relative peace. It should liberate me from all my struggle. It should convey to me the truth. Thus, these are the Shadlingas. I have given, I think, enough time for. Alright, what are the Shadlingas? Please repeat. Upakrama, Upasamhara, make one, then Upapartihi, then Arthapattihi. There is something, Upapattihi, there is Arthapattihi, then Abhyasaha, then Apurvam, then Phalam, Prayojanam. Now, technically, please, it is always referred to Upakrama Shruti, Upasamhara Shruti, Upapatti Shruti. You understand, Phala Shruti, Apurva Shruti. All these Shadlingas are there in the Shastra. Shruti itself, and therefore these Shadlingas really help us in determining, in doing mananam, meaning Shastram is not, what it means is only Advaitam, what it means only that the subject is the Satyam and everything else is Mithya. This is what it means. And that is what is in Anubhava also. That is how the Shadlingas are all useful. Arthavada, Arthapatti nahi, Arthavada. You better write, not Arthapatti, Arthavada. Arthavada means stuti. Arthavada is stuti and ninda. Stuti is you pray what it praises and what it runs down. Is Arthavada. That is the third shad, that is the manam. That Arthapatti you remove it, because Arthapatti is a part of Upapatti. Arthavada. And now of these Shadlingas, the Shadlingas that really play a crucial role is Apurvam and Prayojanam and Upapatti, these three. upapatti is, does it conform to my anubhava? Apurvam, is it something unavailable to pratyakshadi pramanas? Prayojanam, does it guarantee moksha? Or does it guarantee only another material pleasure? Does Vedanta guarantee material prosperity or does it guarantee moksha? If it is meant to give me moksha, then it is valid. In this manner, these are the 6 Shallingas. And now, this is the Upakrama, please. Actually, Upakrama we have already done. And in this particular thing, I am going to refer to what is Upakrama, what is Upamhara, what is Arthavada, because this is one thing that I am going to do. I am going to make a reference to all the Shallingas so that you can be thorough. What is the Upakrama? Eno Shrutam Shrutam Bhavati, Amatam Matam Bhavati, Avijñātam Vijñātam Bhavati is Upakrama Vakya. Are you able to follow? Upakrama means what? How does it begin? The father says, hey, did you ask your teachers for that truth by knowing which everything becomes known? Yena ashrutam shrutam bhavati, amatam matam bhavati, avijñātam vijñātam bhavati. Well, truth is that by knowing which everything becomes known, and the examples that are given, they are all upakrama. And what is the upakrama? By knowing one gold, you come to know all ornaments as gold. By knowing one clay, you come to know all the pots as clay. By knowing one metal, you come to know all that is made of metal. In that manner, by knowing one self, one source, one subject, you come to know all that is made of the truth. There is one truth by knowing which you come to know everything, because everything is made of that truth. Are you able to follow? Therefore, these vakyas are all upakrama vakyas. These are all, upakrama means opening statements. These opening statements are called upakrama vakyas. Therefore, having read the opening statements, and then if you go ahead, and then the opening statements are forgotten, anand nahi aayega. That is why, as one goes ahead, one has to remember what he saw before. Upakrama vakyas ko man mein rakhna chahiye. This is what is called Purva Apara Jnanam. इसको अच्छी तरह से मेमोराइज कीजिए. Purva Apara Jnanam. Purva means what did I see before? What am I seeing now? And what will I be seeing later? I must keep track of what I have studied, the verse that has gone by, the statements that have gone by, and the statements that are being done, and the statements that are coming. I have to have that sense of context. That sense of context is called Sangati. That sense of context is called Sambandha. That sense of context is called Sangati. You know, Sangati is a synonym of Sangama. What is Sangam? Allahabad mein kya hai? Sangam. Sangam means what? Confluence. That confluence is called Sangam. A synonym of Sangam is Sangati. What is the confluence? The verse that has gone by and the verse that I am doing now. The first verse, the second verse, and the third verse, meaning the previous verse, the present verse, and the later verse, have a confluence. They are all indivisible. It is one flow. They are all talking the same topic. And therefore, if I leave the previous and forget the previous, then I can't. That means I lose the sense of the context. I lose the sense of the context. And the moment I lose the sense of the context, then I lose a lot. Then I am confused. That is exactly what is called confusion in day-to-day life. That is the definition of context. I lose the sense of context. What should I be doing now? I don't know. What should I be doing now in this context? I don't know. My husband is not doing very well. Financially, he is not doing well because he never tells a lie and he is very particular about speaking truth even to his enemies, and therefore he is all the time incurring losses. Therefore, he brings very little money home. What should I be doing? Should I be demanding diamonds? Should I be demanding expensive things? I should just flow with it. This is called clarity. And supposing I don't know what I should be doing, then I should be doing wrong things. That's called confusion. That is why in Vedanta also I have to have the sense of the context, and that is what is in Sanskrit called Purva Apara Jnanam. Purva, Pahala, Apara, later, Jnanam, knowledge. That is, in English it is called context. Otherwise, Sangati. Otherwise called Sambandha. These are all very common sense based. Nothing mystical about it. This is one upakrama. And now comes the coming now of the upakrama. You can remember one thing. Ena shrutam shrutam bhavati is upakrama vakya. By knowing one, everything becomes known is upakrama. That is how it begins. And to make it really, to make it intelligible, it gives the drishtantas by knowing one goal. You see, Vacharambhanam vikaro namadheyam ritika ityeva satyam. Vacharambhanam vikaro namadheyam kashnaya sameva satyam. You understand, Vacharambhanam vikaro namadheyam well loha manireva satyam. In this manner, well, we talk. So having said by knowing one gold, one comes to know all ornaments, etc., that is just really making the upakrama vakya intelligible. But the principle is enashrutam shrutam bhavati, amatam matam bhavati, avijñātam vijñātam bhavati. That is the principle. That principle he states. By knowing the truth, I'll tell you, what the Udalaga says is, the Shastra says is, the truth is that by knowing which you come to know everything, because nothing can stand separate from the truth. If there is something which stands separate from the truth, it will be another truth. Anything that stands separate from the truth would be another truth. If there can be second truth, then there will be a third truth. In which case, there will be countless truths, which means you can never know the truth. Because countless number of truths, how can you know? When you come to know all the countless number of truths, then you can claim that you have known the truth. When will you come to know the countless? How can one know the countless? Therefore, the Shastram says, truth is that by knowing which everything becomes known, because nothing stands separate from the truth. And therefore, that is the topic. That truth is the topic of Vedanta. By knowing which everything becomes known. This is the opening remark. This is the opening statement. Therefore, Shabda being a pramana, it should have no distraction from it. The validity of a book lies in its non-distraction from its intended topic. Bahut badi baat hai ji. The validity, one of the things that make the scripture valid is it should have no distraction from that stated topic. From that stated topic, it should have no distraction. First, it says something, oh, yena shrutam bhavati, amadam madam bhavati, avijñātam vijñātam bhavati, makes a huge remark, and then afterwards starts talking about politics, societal ethics. You begin with the truth and end up with some societal truth. Societal means what? Some societal thing, custom. Diwali ke din kya karna chahiye? You understand? You begin with the truth and end up in some customs. It ceases to be valid. It ceases to be valid. Just as the eyes have no distraction from seeing the form, eyes never get distracted from seeing to hearing. Ears have no distraction from hearing to seeing. Similarly, any pramana, even Shabda pramana, should have no distraction. Now, this is upakrama. I'm repeating again and again because you have to get the idea in this particular section what is upakrama. What is the opening statement? Truth is that by knowing which everything becomes known. This is the opening statement. And the whole teaching must be based on that. Your entire building, how you build the coming thing, the entire section must be built on that opening statement, that the truth is that by knowing which everything becomes known. And now begins the prakriya. This is called, what now we are going to beginning is prakriya. Prakriya means the method of unfolding the oneness. There is a logic. Everything boils down to the one, because everything is made of that one. Everything is sustained by that one. Everything resolves unto that one. And that one is indivisible one. That indivisible one. Because fundamentally, existence is indivisible. Because divisions, like I'll give you a very simple example, a very effective example, which is an example which I am always fond of. Therefore, whether you are fond of or not, let me talk on what I am fond of. Sounds are divided, and they all boil down to silence. Divide silence. Divide silence. And there is nothing more fundamental than silence. Where does silence boil down to? Sound resolves unto silence. Sound is born, stays, and resolves. And what is there? Silence. And where does that silence resolve to? What does that silence resolve? Silence doesn't resolve. Why? Because silence is not a creation. Silence is not born. Silence is. Silence is. And it is indivisible. Silence cannot be divided. Silence doesn't have variety. Silence doesn't have gradation. Sounds have gradation. You see? Sound have, there are noise levels. Noise levels should not be misread as the levels of silence. Silence is absolute. And sounds have gradation. You do like this. This is one level of silence or sound. This is what? Level of sound. Another level of the sound. Another level of the sound. Like this you go on increasing. That is why the government always says, supposing you make a complaint, my neighbor is playing transistor or TV which comes into my house, then they will come and measure the noise levels. and there are acceptable levels and unacceptable levels. And this acceptable and unacceptable is again has got some subjective stuff it is, because for whom acceptable. But anyway, by some consensus, they come to understand these levels are acceptable, these levels are unacceptable. Anyway, that's not important. What is important for us is, well, noise has gradation, silence has no gradation. Silence has no gradation. Are you able to follow? Silence has no gradation. Now, what does silence boil down to? And silence is indivisible. Silence is non-dual. That means what? Fundamentally, oneness is the truth. That is what is obvious. Many are a myth. Oneness is the truth. Why? The many boil down to one. It is like, there is all the time, the indications are the indications are unmistakable. The pointers are unmistakable. What are the pointers? Thoughts are many, thinker is one. Thinker doesn't boil down to the thought, but thought boils down to thinker, the subject. The thoughts are born of the person thinker, they are sustained by the thinker, and they again go back unto the person. I think a thought, I swallow my own thoughts. The whole day, every time I entertain a thought, I author a thought, I take it back. I author a thought, I take it back. Think a thought, comes back. Think a thought, comes back. Therefore, we are the source of every thought, we are the support of every thought, and we are also the end of every thought. Is it not obvious? What else is obvious? What is the definition of being obvious? Obvious means what? What can be more obvious than what is obvious? In being obvious, there is no gradation. It's obvious. Therefore, thoughts are many, the thinker is one. Oneness is the truth. Perceptions are many, perceiver is one. Memories are many, remember it is one. Objects are many, subject is one. Therefore, the many boil down to the one. The oneness is very intimate. The oneness is intimate. The many are distant. Oneness is intimate. Thoughts are as though distant. But the thinker is intimate, because I am the thinker. And who can be more intimate to me than myself? Just an expression. I am being intimate to me. Just an expression. Even that expression is wrong. I am intimate to myself is a very, very shoddy expression. Nothing great about it. I am intimate. That word intimate also is not adequate to convey our identity as the subject. Therefore, here Bhagavan says, this is something. This is called prakriya. What we are going to begin is the prakriya. And what is its purpose? To convey the oneness. Of what? Of the whole existence. The whole existence boils down to oneness. It's like saying, all forms boil down to the seer of them. All sounds boil down to the hearer of them. All sounds boil down to the silence itself. Thus, that is called prakriya. I am going to make you feel, you have to, until you feel really it is too much, I am going to talk. You have to hear that word prakriya, because a lot of things we casually hear and we leave it. It never gives me fulfillment of learning. I pick up, I hear a word and I leave it. I hear a word and leave it. There is never a fulfillment of learning. There is no tripti that I am learning. I am learning because I just hear a word and I lose it. It's gone. I have to collect, and I have to recollect it, reflect on it, and imbibe what it means. Then the word has done its job. When I collect what it means, I collect a word and I remember a word, that is called recollect a word, and reflect on what it means. And when I understand what it means, then I have made the best of the word. Supposing I hear a word and leave it, and a lot of reality is conveyed, a lot of conveying is done through words, because Shabda is the Pramana. Therefore, I want you to just think of this word called Prakriya. Prakriya means methodology. Don't say you have understood Prakriya, please go to another word. No. Prakriya means, what does it mean? Methodology. For accomplishing anything, there is a right Prakriya and there is a wrong Prakriya. You follow the wrong Prakriya, you will not get the right result. Many people are a failure in whatever small little thing they do because they follow the wrong Prakriya. One Prakriya is how to make sambar. How to make sambar. The right Prakriya says, cook dal along with palak, and then afterwards, after cooking it, give it a tadka. Now what is the wrong Prakriya? You give first tadka and then start cooking it, and then ultimately what does it become? Something which you call sambar. That's nothing. In life, we deny ourselves a lot of satisfaction. Why? Because we keep adopting wrong Prakriyas. We want to have a very peaceful household. For that, there is a right Prakriya. What is the right Prakriya? Respect the members of the household. Do care for them. Let there be mutual care. Let there be mutual respect. Let there be mutual understanding. Let there be mutual security. That is the right Prakriya for peace. Supposing you adopt a wrong Prakriya and you have the right desire but wrong method. What is the right desire? Let there be peace in the household is the right desire. But right desire is not enough. Right desire is not enough. But you have to follow right method. Right method. What is the right method? Hey, I have to follow the right Prakriya. What is it? Whatever guarantees peace in the household, what guarantees is the right Prakriya? What may give is not right Prakriya, but what guarantees is the right Prakriya. Isko memorize karna chahiye. The right method is that which guarantees. That is the right method. What guarantees? And it not only guarantees, it can be easily understood. It's not a belief, you can see how it guarantees. Like self-control guarantees mental peace. Yes. Respect to one another guarantees peace in the household. Etc., etc. And that is what is called right. So if there is a methodology, then there are two methodologies, right methodology and wrong methodology. And Vedanta Prakriya, Vedanta gives you the right Prakriya by which guarantees that everything, guarantees the vision, guarantees the understanding that everything is one. Everything is one. And the Prakriya, what it conveys is called Tatparyam. That oneness is called Tatparyam. Therefore, Prakriya leads to Tatparyam. Can you remember these two terms? One is Prakriya, the other is Tatparyam. Therefore, Tatparyam is not meant for Prakriya. Prakriya is meant for the Tatparyam. Method is for the result, not the result is for the method. You walk for reaching, you don't reach in order to walk. There is only one instance in which you reach to walk. That is Lodi Park. You reach there for walking. But otherwise, the principle in life is what? You always walk in order to reach. Similarly, the Prakriya is for Tatparya. We'll continue. This begins, see, in the next class. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Pudachyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Please.